Wagwan, and welcome to the Spectrums. I'm wondering what sort of name to call you guys, What should I call you? What is your identity on this channel? And I think I'm going to call you Spectrums. You are the Spectrums. You are who I'm trying to get towards, Who am I trying to speak to? And I'm trying to speak to the multitude of people that are out there on the planet. You all come from different backgrounds, you all come from different countries, you all have different ways of interpreting yourself and identifying with yourself. And I think the best the best way to describe you is through spectrums, because that's what this channel is about, It's not about me, it's about my opinion based around multiple topics relating to how I see the world and relating to what I'm interested in. And hopefully you're interested in what I am interested in, because you're watching my channel, so I'm in control. But yeah, darts and harps.
The Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DARTS, was launched on 24th of November 2021, impacting the asteroid Didymos on the 26th of September 2022. This is the first publicly disclosed interference with a near-Earth object, or an asteroid or comet, which passes close to the Earth's orbit. But this demonstration of what humanity is capable of has opened a door that may not be closed or redirected again. A new era of space warfare has begun. Hi there, and welcome to the Spectrums. According to the European Space Agency, there are over 30,000 near-Earth asteroids that have been discovered in the solar system. Near-Earth asteroids are bodies of matter orbiting an area around space that brings them close to Earth's orbit. The majority of these NEOs, or near-Earth objects, have been found in the last decade, showing how our ability to detect asteroids is rapidly improving. It also means the impact of falling stars will likely increase over the coming years. This is where it comes in. It's fair to say that the mission to redirect an asteroid was a resounding success. So much so that the collision with Dimorphos supposedly turned the former asteroid into a man-made comet.
It's in the streets.
The energy created by the collision was enough to produce a strange outburst of energy that astronomers captured from the ground. This impact was by all terms and conditions not normal. The collision was primarily kinetic, meaning the force that was placed on both objects was created by momentum. But the pictures of the resulting impact from ground telescopes reveals the amount of energy that is visually evident, shining, almost as if there was more than just one force at play.
Interesting. Halloween. When you hit a target in darts, usually the target is the bullseye, right? But if you miss the target, you can still hit a certain point and get points. But really, hitting the bullseye doesn't necessarily mean hitting the middle of the board. It actually means hitting the part of the board that has the most points. 180, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's funny how 180 is the number that they chose. I'm not going to go into that. Yeah, if you do the maths, then you'll see the connotation and the connections behind 180, Anyway, let's get on to the meat of the topic, shall we? Oh, it's a bit too bright. Cool. I'm not going to look into the light this time. I'm going to know it's there and know it's protecting me from the darkness of this world. That took a slightly depressing turn. You probably have heard of the HAARP project, or also known as the Forget, you can look it up yourself. HAARP was started by the US Air Force, the US Navy, and the University of Alaska, and the DARTS. We know what they're capable of. But it's interesting that a project that was originally designed to study the ionosphere and interact with it was funded by defense departments of the United States of America. What are they defending against? Who knows? Always have an open mind, because you'll never know what you find behind the veil. Did you know that an asteroid is going to be coming past Earth's orbit through Halloween? I'm still getting used to being on camera, to be honest. A monstrously large, potentially hazardous asteroid will zip through Earth's orbit on Halloween. The asteroid's upper size estimate is just short of the world's tallest building. Interesting. Well, this is according to NASA, so who knows. The asteroid, called 22RM4, I don't know what RM4 stands for. It's funny how certain space events coincide with things that we celebrate on a human level. Speaking of DARTS, it's interesting that the DARTS test, or the asteroid redirection test that was done on the asteroid Dimorphos, which by the way is named after a goddess, I think it's a goddess or a god. Let me look it up while I'm on screen. Freaking adverts. Dimorphos means having two forms. So what two forms does Dimorphos have? Since di is Latin? Oh, it's Greek. Yes, so Dimorphos is a Greek word for having two forms. I wonder why that is. I think it's interesting that we name celestial bodies after like Greek gods, basically like deities from the past, because I think that it's more than symbolic. Because why would you name something after a god? Why not name it John or Anne or Tyrone?
Differences.
Anyway, I never plan these videos, by the way. I just get in front of the camera and I speak my mind and show you things that I found interesting in a way that I haven't seen anyone else do it, because this is coming from my mind. It's always good to take inspiration from others that you look up to, but not to idolize them, because there's a difference between idolizing and looking up to someone. Because you need to keep your soul, you need to keep what's unique about you. Otherwise, you might end up trying to be someone who you're not, while forgetting the important parts of yourself. Anyway, by the way, did you know that Halloween actually has a deeper tradition than what most people actually realize? And it's also interesting that certain things are happening behind the scenes that coincide with this Halloween holiday. I'm going to show you what Halloween actually is and what the origins of Halloween come from, and why Halloween is actually way more important than you may realize or you may actually remember. There's a neo-pagan church called the Circle Sanctuary, which is located in Wisconsin in the United States. The Circle Sanctuary. What is circling? Is that, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, we used to cuss a lot. Sometimes literally and sometimes figuratively. But what we used to call people who we thought were wasios. You're a pagan, man. Oh, you're such a pagan, man. Listen, if it's a cuss word to call someone a pagan, and you belong to a church that is considered neo-pagan, then you got you gotta understand the origins of something in order to figure out where the modern version of something is going. If you called someone a pagan, you deep their life. Halloween was actually originally something called Samhain. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but so let's just read the description, shall we? As October turns to November, thousands of witches, Wiccans, Druids, and other pagans across America, Canada, Europe, and elsewhere observe the sacred time of Samhain, aka Halloween. Samhain is a festival of the dead. Oh, really? Meaning summer's end, and pronounced Samhain or Samhain, a celebration of the end of the harvest and the start of the coldest half of the year. For many practitioners, the article's writer included, Samhain also is the beginning of the spiritual new year. Okay. And I don't see why you would worship or be involved in a ritual or something that originated as a ritual that worship the dead, because I'm sure there's a reason why in society things have been modernized and turned into something that seems to not be what its original value or original meaning is. But it turns out that life works in mysterious ways, and sometimes in order to find the true meaning of something, you have to go backwards instead of just going forwards and not looking behind you. It is said that at this special time of Samhain, the veil that separates the worlds is at its thinnest. The worlds? What worlds exactly? So our world, the world of Fere, so our world, the world of Fere, and that of the dead blend as one. The world of the dead. Black hole, maybe? It is no wonder that this night has become so wrapped in superstition. It is a night of wonder and magic. Yeah. You see, read between the lines, guys. You can't say that. You can't say that something that's so widely accepted, such as Halloween, doesn't still have the same meaning as it had in its original state. Because it's like buying a house, right? And painting the house, redecorating it, making it into what you want it to be in terms of its aesthetic, whether it was cluttered or not, sweeping up everything, right? But not changing the shell or the core of what makes the house, not building the base, because it still has the same foundations. That's basically what Samhain is to Halloween. And reading more into this, you realize that Halloween or Samhain actually has more influence than you might really realize. I've said that many times, but you'll get the point. The Celtic people were in superstitious awe of times and places in between. Holy sites were any border places, the shore between land and water, like seas, lakes and rivers, bridges, boundaries between territories, especially when marked by bodies of water, crossroads, thresholds, etc. Holy times were also border times, twilight and dawn marking the transitions of night and day. So clearly in Samhain, it is believed that the transition between the sun rising and the moon appearing in the sky had a spiritual connotation to it. So that suggests that the celestial bodies that encompass or surround our world have meaning that connects other worlds to our own. So who knows? Maybe that's why CERN and HAARP are currently waging war between certain forces. I'll get to that. At Samhain, which corresponds to modern Halloween, by the way, corresponds means similar or almost exactly to. So basically, Samhain is basically old Halloween. Time lost all meaning, and the past, present, and future were one. Quantum states. The dead and the denizens of the other world walked among the living. It was a time of fairies, ghosts, demons, and witches. Winter itself was the season of ghosts, and Samhain is the night of their release from the underworld. Wow. That's crazy. Many people lit bonfires to keep the evil spirits at bay. That adds a whole other level to the burning bush. If you know, you know. Often a torch was lit and carried around the boundaries of the home and farm to protect the property and residents against the spirits throughout the winter. So you know in movies, right, where fire is like ghosts and like zombies or spirits and demons, etc. They don't like fire, right? They don't like fire. They actually resistant to it. They go, shh, you know. Even some vampires are depicted as having a lack of tolerance towards fire. So it seems that fire is very symbolic to keep away evil spirits, or at least the symbolism of fire is to symbolize keeping away evil and lighting up the darkness that surrounds you. Now this is where things get interesting, because listen, you need to be careful, but you'll see why I personally don't celebrate Halloween anymore, or at least I don't, go out on Halloween or get drunk, etc., etc. You can do what you want. I'm not saying, you're a bad person if you celebrate Halloween. How dare you? I'm enjoying myself. What I am saying is that you need to be careful where you spread your energy and where you spread your electromagnetic frequency, right? Because everything is connected, and as I'll show you and as I'll speak about in many other videos that I'll hopefully do in the future, the electromagnetic spectrum is the most important part of what makes our world revolve around itself, and what all living things interact with, or at least has a part in. So the electromagnetic spectrum is actually quite important, because your brain waves are made of electromagnetic waves. Everything communicates with electromagnetic waves. So when there's a large disturbance of the electromagnetic spectrum, especially in this realm, on a small or large scale, it affects everything in small or large ways. The chaos theory, for example, one small difference can create a big change in the future because of the difference in reactions to said reaction. I need to spit bars, man. With the growth and spread of Christianity as the dominant religion throughout Europe, Samhain time, and stop. Samhain time. I'm wilding out. Let me stop. Samhain time took on Christian names and guises. Okay. Good to know. All Saints' Day, or All Hallows, on November 1st, commemorated Christian saints and martyrs. All Souls' Day on November 2nd was a remembrance of all souls of the dead. With the coming of Christian Spaniards to Mexico, the indigenous customs of honoring the dead at this time of year mixed with Roman Catholicism, and gave birth to the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, in early November. So, you know the movie Coco, right? It's based around the Day of the Dead. It's interesting how, basically in history, the origins of Halloween, Samhain, had a direct influence on the Day of the Dead in Mexico. And they're celebrated around the same time. Yeah, the more you know. Samhain shares the ancient spiritual practice of remembering and paying respects to the dead with these related religious holidays of Christianity. Now, I'm quite mind blown by reading this out loud, because even though I read this, it's another thing to read it out loud because things just make sense to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, what? So you're telling me that trick or treat goes on a deeper level than expected? Listen, it's not safe. Go with your kids out on Halloween, yeah? Don't send yourself or take yourself out to places that you don't have a good knowledge of on Halloween. If you're going to celebrate Halloween, make sure that you do it around people who you enjoy the the presence of. You know, do it with people who you trust. Make sure that you don't get too drunk. Don't make sure you don't get too waved, because there's going to be consequences in the morning. And in this realm that's apparently opened during the most spiritually active time of the year, the consequences might be more than you might expect if you're not paying attention to how things work in your life, and if you see the reactions to certain communications that you have in the present. Be careful. You might be watching this after this, but it still counts, because this is that's the origin. That's the origin. It came from a pagan ritual that was performed by by the Celtic people of the time. Now, there's always deeper meanings behind things that may seem surface level if you dive into it. Whether you want to dive into it is your business. I mean, you're watching this with me. But at the end of the day, you gotta be careful. In contrast, Samhain and its related Christian holiday counterparts continue to be religious in focus and spiritually observed by adherents. So it continues to be religiously relevant. Take a second to deep that. Although observance may include merrymaking, a lot of people seem to make and make merry and be merry and just make drama. Man. The honouring of the dead that is central to Samhain is a serious religious practice rather than a light-hearted, make-believe reenactment. Today's pagan Samhain rites, while sober, are benevolent, and although centered on death, do not involve human or animal sacrifices that we know of. Most Samhain rituals are held in private rather than in public. There's this article about HAARP, which calls it the most powerful ionosphere heater on Earth. When stimulated with high intensity sustenance. Give me sustenance, quick. When stimulated with high intensity radio waves, the ionosphere responds with baffling and beautiful displays. Oh, really? What, like halos and sprites and elves? It's almost like it's connected with Halloween. So basically there was a scientist that works at the Air Force Research Laboratory Space Vehicles Directorate at Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wait, Albuquerque, New Mexico was also in New Mexico. Let's not go there. What will you learn? Basically, why he calls HAARP a heater is because of the high intensity radio waves and this effect on the ionosphere. Now, the ionosphere, right? The ionospherence, right, drives electrons and particles together, and because of the high excitement of these particles, friction or heat is created from the excitement of these electrons. So therefore, HAARP is a gigantic heater. Which is interesting because they're interfering with the ionosphere, which is being excited by greenhouse gases and CO2 emissions that are being dispersed into the atmosphere. Don't you think it's interesting how things work? Let's not go there. Just as an opera soprano needs to sing at just the right frequency to break a glass, that's facts. I've broken glass many times and not by myself. So oh, you can take that on so many levels. Never mind. A heater must target frequencies that match the natural plasma resonances in the ionosphere. Yeah, so basically frequencies of any kind, radio waves or electromagnetic, although radio waves are electromagnetic because it's on the electromagnetic spectrum. Anyway, all frequencies directly impact matter of any kind, depending on its power and the type of frequency that is being used. So that's why when you think of someone and what you think of that person might affect them in the long term. I'm not putting that in the video. Listen to what this article actually has to say, and listen to the terminology and what is being said and how words are being used, because it's quite interesting. The details is what matters. A zoo of plasma waves. That's quite a unique title. I wonder why they called it a zoo. Living. I'm going on a tangent, and I've been recording for about 40 minutes, I estimate. So yeah, I'm just rambling and making it content because I'm content. Different. No one will predict with certainty whether a particle wave mode will absorb half the transmitted energy or only 1 part in a million. For example, observed artificial plasma production accounts for only about 5% of the energy available from the beam. Some of the remaining 95% undoubtedly excites other modes that might mislead researchers into wrongly identifying the cause of the ionization. So he's basically saying that the observed artificial plasma production that is created from the interaction between frequency beams created artificially and the natural ionosphere accounts for only 5% of what's observed. So the remaining 95% is of another domain? That's strange. Simulated electromagnetic emissions hold the greatest promise for helping scientists determine which wave modes are active during actual experiments. So when they apparently shut this down in 2014, it wasn't shut down because they said that the United States Air Force basically wanted to, they didn't really want to be involved with HAARP anymore, but really the funding for HAARP transferred from the United States Air Force to the University of Alaska. If I'm correct in saying that? Is that the case? Scroll. Yeah, that is the case. So, all because someone stops funding something or stops putting their name on the badge, it doesn't mean that they still can't talk to or communicate with the person that's involved. An interesting and still unexplored aspect of artificial ionization is the complex interplay between the plasma created by radio waves and the bending or reflecting of radio waves by that plasma. Has food for thought. There's a video that he talks about after this. You'll see a wide range of spots, turbulence, and sharp gradients despite the smoothly varying beam. So that means that the ionosphere reflects the beam back in varying ways that resemble something that's solid? Sorry, I've got something in my throat. I need to sit some of the jewels. Refreshing. News. I've been talking for too long. Why are you still talking? You're still chatting away. You're still chatting. It's getting hot in here. Excited electrons are bouncing off my spaces in between the atoms of my skin. Deep that for a second. You are not actually touching someone when you touch them. You're actually touching their electromagnetic force. Science. So like I said, in August 2015, the HAARP facility was transferred from the US Air Force to the University of Alaska so that HAARP scientists could continue their investigations of fundamental plasma physics in an academic environment, not a military one. Because, yeah, that would be quite suspicious, especially when stuff starts to hit the fan later on in the day or night or year or decades. I got there in the end. It's not even the same decade. But yeah, 7 years later, they've turned it back on again. And guess what they're doing? Oh my days. I'm telling you, some of the information that you find when you just dive into news articles, let alone anything else, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Huge HAARP antenna arrays bouncing radio signals off Jupiter. Jupiter? That's millions of miles away. Radio signals apparently travel a long distance, right? But it's interesting that they're going to bounce radio signals off Jupiter to figure out what sort of electromagnetic force it's given off. Pardon. So, hold on a second. Why Jupiter? Why are you bouncing radio waves off Jupiter? I mean, isn't that communicating? Because if you think about it, all communication are waves and particles. So what sort of communication would be sent back? I wonder what sort of data they'll find on that. It's very interesting. Jupiter. Talking to a planet. Oh yeah, planets do make sound, so that will make sense. Even though space is apparently a vacuum and you can't hear. So yeah, apparently HAARP is currently trying to bounce signals off the moon and Jupiter. The moon as well, by the way. You know, the moon, the thing that apparently creates tides on the planet and also has effects on our sleep pattern, you know. They're bouncing radio waves off of Jupiter and the moon, and apparently that's not going to have any effects in the long run. HAARP is probably one of the most important science experiments or science instruments of all time, with CERN and others that we definitely don't know about because they would be too classified to dive into. Maybe in the next 20 years they might declassify some of the projects that they worked on, but we'll talk about some of those that have been declassified in another video, because some of the things that you find out are probably stranger than fiction. For the people who are subscribed, thank you. I really appreciate it. For the people who are watching this and watch it all the way through to the end, you're the real ones. And even if you're not interested in the subject itself, I hope that you go away learning something and at least having a subject that you can talk about with your friends, talk about with your family, you know, just something to start up discussions. Sometimes the best way to start communication with people is to aim for the bullseye and to play the harps of your choice. Your ionosphere or your bubble might be popped or penetrated by a force that you may not understand or might be aware of, and it will have consequences in the long term. So just be strong in yourself and just keep doing what you want to do, even if it doesn't get you success in the short term. In the long term, it will do your soul a lot of good. So yeah, it's been Spectrums, this is Jacob Marriott speaking, and may God bless you.